Hi, I'm Dave.
I'm Andrew. We are the IB English guys. Folks, today is our second video exploring multi-panel comics. In our first video, we did some close reading and unpacked a great comic from Grant Snider. Today, we're going to look at the accompanying piece of student writing.
That's right. So we're going to just briefly look at the cartoon comic, and then we're going to talk about the student writing. This particular comic is just powerful. It's an extended metaphor of a character that's waiting in the airport. He's waiting for something to happen. The flight's been delayed. And then there's these commands from the narrator to skip security, discard the baggage, and go out into the world.
Yeah, I love it. It starts out with that, hey, we're starting to inform you your flight's been delayed. And then, that's kind of a, dark, ominous idea. And then at the end, it's with him just walking out into the city and experiencing and living today.
There's rich symbolism. There's great use of color and interesting illustrations. And that's what we dissected in our previous video.
Now, Mr. Giles, for this piece of student writing, the guiding question was as follows. How does the author use language and image to make an argument? Really standard guiding question. We always want to think about the interplay between text and image. And of course, any text is making an argument. Mr. Giles, let's start with the introduction and tell me what you notice.
Well, I think the writer is connecting with the idea of human beings waiting for the future. So they're connected to this idea of societal expectations to live our best lives. I like that. We're connecting with the topic and the message.
Yeah, I think the first sentence, the hook of any piece of writing, you want to connect with the topic. And in this case, it's about societal expectations and living our best lives, right?
Yeah.
I love in the middle of the intro, we see the author's name, of course, Grant Snider. We get the title and we get the publishing date. So the student has done a really nice job of just identifying the basics. And then they have a target audience. And a really short description, a summary statement of the cartoon. How do they segue to the thesis?
After they've summarized the comic, then they're thinking about, okay, I need to use the language of the guiding question. So we have that interplay of image and language. We have the author that's communicating the idea. And then we have, it's actually a 2-sentence thesis. I like that because his message is clear, is really the main claim. And that's what we're being asked to do. Read that main claim. The most important part of our paper.
The main claim reads, we must learn to dismiss our fears and worries about the future and embrace a carpe diem philosophy to seize the day. I like it, Mr. Giles. So now we should be thinking about that idea of seizing the day. We want to see that idea unified and linked throughout the rest of the paragraph.
That's right.
Let's look at that first body paragraph, Giles. How are they doing on that topic sentence?
They're establishing the narrative structure is going to be what they talk about. This is one of our elements that we talked about in our previous video. They're thinking about the story, but they're also connecting the rich idea of leaving the past behind and stepping out into the future. That's our thesis.
Yeah, when we think about what we did with the deconstruction, this writer is also starting with setting, and he talks about the setting of the airport as a strong choice, and the writer immediately goes to that extended metaphor because that's what's underpinning the entire cartoon.
That's right. And we see the illustrator, Snider, he's in the driver's seat in relationship to the readers. I like that we're thinking about Snider and his reader because he's trying to reach the reader and have the reader think about their own life.
Yeah, it looks like the writer picks up a few of those key symbols in the middle of the comic where we see the security, the baggage, and the masses. I think you have some choices here as a writer. You could break those down individually and talk about those in great detail, but it looks like the writer wants to handle those all in one go. Perhaps they want to emphasize other parts of the comic.
Yeah, that's great. And then the concluding sentence is going back to that idea of the topic of the narrative, but going back to the thesis about not obsessing about the future.
Well, we notice the words climax and resolve. Resolve, of course, being linked to resolution. So it looks like the strategy for this first paragraph was to go through the plot line while integrating other authorial choices. Where are they moving to in the next paragraph, Mr. Giles?
Now we're going to talk about font and lettering, which is, again, a part of that idea of the image and language, but really thinking more carefully about the language that's being used.
But still linking to that rich idea, the importance of today over tomorrow. So they have a new aspect they want to explore, but they still have the rich idea.
Yeah, that's right. And like the comic does so artfully is they're thinking about font, color, font size, but also the words. So this is really a paragraph about language, but not just the language that's used, but the font and the choices.
Yeah, so why not smash it together? If you're going to pick out a few words, you might as well comment on what's the style of the font.
Yeah, stop waiting. We talked about that in our previous video. I think that's really...
Yeah, it looks like they've got the imperative phrase there, and then they do talk about the big, bold capital lettering. They use the word punchline. I think the writer is showing good command of comic features.
Yeah, and language, and really thinking about the words and the connotations of those words. That's really nice. Then our next body paragraph, topic is clear. We know the topic is about the visual choices and the color. So it's very clear that we have these 3 topics that are being discussed, but we're also going on that focus of today, which is which idea.
It looks like they really want to emphasize on the character here. That was part of what we did in the annotation. So they're looking at body posture and facial expressions. Good choice.
Yeah, that's right. And they're moving on. They're talking about the use of colors and the drab colors of these characters that are waiting with their winter coats. I think that's a really nice detail to point out, and very in contrast to the character.
Sort of the last thing I would like to pick out here is I kind of like this idea that they picked up on possibly some circular structure in that case, where at the beginning of the comic, we sort of, panel 1, we see the character beginning. It almost looks like a door, almost like he's looking outside, looking in. And then the last one, he's stepping out. So we kind of see a similar technique in the way this is depicted. It kind of links the beginning of the comic to the end in a nice circular, tight way. I
like that. Yeah, I like that too. And I think that's a good observation. And then finally, we have a conclusion. And the conclusion does a good job of going back to that rich idea about stop worrying about the future and enjoy today. I don't think it's bad to be repeating that argument. That's the argument. Not hard to understand, but it's clear.
But there's something new here. I like that idea of a relatable example. It's something you said in the last video. You said, hey, everybody's been to the airport. Everybody's experienced this. This is something everybody can tap into. And if we want to talk about, living our best lives and stepping out, we need to anchor into something that everybody can connect to, and that's a good choice.
Yeah, that's right. And it makes us reflect on our own lives. So this student is connected very well to the rich idea. Grant Snider would be proud. He would be proud. Wow, you understood what I was trying to do.
Definitely.
And that's what we need to get in the head of the illustrator.
Yeah, folks, in the end, we hope that this piece of writing and this deconstruction has helped you. Remember, when looking at comics, we want to think about narrative elements, setting, characterization, objects, style, and language. Stay with this channel, keep on watching, and we will do our best to guide you to high school English success.
Thanks, guys.